Hello there and welcome to BEEMAN.DEV live stream Saturday Night Live. And today we are gonna work on some project that I haven't really published yet or haven't in public, which is some platform. Well, it's a big monolith and it does everything and nothing at all. But one of the things it does is it has courses, and you're right, I'm working on my own course software. And this has been a project that I've been working on for quite a bit, off and on, client work, and well, something I'd like to work on myself. And what I'd like to do today is work on the course player. So what we have here is like the start of a course player, but I'm going to redo it because I'm not happy with how it is. And so that'll be today's live session. I'll be working on this, and I'll be doing it with the PANG stack: Prisma, Angular, Nest, Annex, and GraphQL. So let's get going. I'm going to open my terminal here, my console, and first thing I'm going to do is make sure that this whole thing loads in a new module, basically the whole player. So if we hit resume, whatever we land on there, so it's /enrolled /blah/blah, this should be our new player. So let's get to it. And this is the app that I have opened. And the first thing I want to do here is scaffold out my library. So it's a huge platform. It's quite a big platform. It has a lot of stuff. I'm in the phase of restructuring it, redoing it. NX helps me a lot with that. So I'm going to go ahead and check my, yeah, there you go. I got the command here running. The dry run command is this, going to create a libcall player in the directory courses. So that should result in lib courses player and then the actual course player module. And the first thing right now is the important thing we need to do today is make sure that we can click through a course. So let's generate this course player and let's check where the enroll route is. So something called enroll here or in the app. See enrolled. So I'm searching for this part here because I know that this is a route. I'm searching for this in the app. It's not in the app, it should be in libs. Interesting. I'm looking for a path property. There you go. Here it is. Okay, so this is the enrollment. And as you see right now, I'm in some structure here in home. Now home is everything you see right now in the home page. I'd like to split it up so I can reuse it more easily. And the last time I was working on this, I didn't really take this into account, but I'd like to have this player just as a separate library that I can use as a separate library, include, and then go from there. So let's have a go at this. I'm going to have 1 second retweeting this and telling that we're live now. We're live now. And let me see. Okay, I was actually talking without the screen. So, okay, that was like, I'm still beginning, still figuring stuff out. I'll walk you through it right away. Okay, so now with the screen shared, I'm going to cut the YouTube version that makes more sense. Okay, cool. So this is the application that I was talking about. I have an application that can host courses and do a ton of other things, but we're going to look at courses right now. So here you see the course entry that I created. It's a published course. It's called Introduction to GraphQL. Here it has the course introduction page. So it's the page with, well, the objective and the outline. There's a management UI. We might dive in there today if we need to change stuff, but for now that's not really relevant. But there's a management UI where you can create the curriculum, and then once we hit resume course, we go to this this course player, if you will. And I'm not really happy with how this is structured currently. And I figured it might be over again, just start from scratch. We might actually do some NGRX as well. Yes, so this currently works of NGRX. I generally tend to start stuff over when I'm not happy with it, so the same goes here. I'm gonna like maybe get inspired, but what I do with my course session here. But most likely I'll be having a course player key in here next to this course section. The course section will probably not even load because it's not loaded when we're here in the course main page. And yeah, it only loads when we go in here, and then when we actually say get rid of, not get rid, I'm going to rebuild and then later get rid of it. I might reuse some stuff, but it's probably more straightforward and better practice to start all over again. So when we look at the routes, I want to get everything besides the enrolled route. So what we do here is we take the ID of the course and we take the ID of the enrollment. So as you can see here, 1 second, please. Getting a message, something seems off with the stream. Let me quickly check on Twitch how it all looks. And if you're here in the chat, you can obviously... Crutchcorn, you're in the chat. Okay, sorry man, I haven't seen you. I'm still new to this stuff. Let me share my screen again and see if that works. Jeez, I'm such a beginner at this whole streaming stuff. So this, and then... Right, this should be it. I'm going to double check this on Twitch itself. So I moved to, yep, so it looks like that works. Let me see if it still seems off. I'm also going to message my girl who is watching. What I see. Okay, my girl's watching on Twitch as well. So, thanks, Crutch. Thanks for the motivating words. Yes. I will get the hang of it. So I'm also still in, like, as you can see here on top, Restream logo. I'll probably run with Restream, but I like it so far because I like it so far, and of the logos. So I'm going to start all over again because then it at least makes some sense what we're working with. So as I explained earlier, this is Kickstart. I haven't really talked about it, but it's my a project I've been working on for quite some time now, and one of the things it features is a course module. Oh, are you really stream to one platforms? Let's see if I can cut it out, the YouTube stream, while I'm live. Put up. Yep. Thanks for the advice. I cut YouTube off. So this was the comment from Crutchcorn. And yes, I'm affiliate since last week. Thank you very much, everybody, for following me and stuff on Twitch and YouTube and everybody. And this is why I've been at Restream personally. So I've tried a few different apps, and this one just seems to be the easiest on my computer, which is the main reason I'm using this thing. So it's of a performance thing, stuck with something that worked. So this is my CPU load right now, and with OBS, which I prefer to use, I'm a big fan of open source software for a lot of stuff, but OBS was just killing my machine, making it totally unusable. If I run an NX generator, it would take like 4 minutes, which was terrible. So yeah. But let's Kickstart is, this is the thing we place today. So this is the course introduction page where you have like an intro, course objective, something about the author, the outline. This is managed by an editor that I worked on last week, like between things. And then we have the resume course. And this used to be the course player and it's broken and I'm not happy about it. And I'm not happy about how I structured the store. So this is an NGRX store that goes with it. And I mean, yeah, it kind of worked at some point, but then it stopped working and I figured it might be best to just abandon this base, this part of the code, and start all over again. And that's what we're going to do today. So in order to do this, I generated a new player library. So I generated libs course player, which generated this library for me, libs course player. And here is where I'm going to build the actual course player. And there's still like quite a few things I'm not sure about, but I thought let's first build out the UI. And I'm gonna model it. I might just show what I'm gonna rip it off. I'm just gonna rip off the UI from another thing that I know that works. I guess I just have to rephrase it. I'm gonna get inspired by this application. So this is Thinkific. I've been looking around various course platforms before I got started, but there's a few things that I want to do differently. And I mean, that might be dangerous and it might be strange to some people, but I really have some things in mind that I think will make this course platform more interesting than the existing ones. So you have like Thinkific, you have LearnDash, obviously there's Thinkable, what is it? Teachable, and they're all pretty much the same. So the goal for today is to get this structure that I have, this curriculum that we can see here. Where is it? Yeah, so get this curriculum in the sidebar, make sure we can click through it, and then at some point catch the process and see where we get. So yeah, this is my inspiration. I might just keep it here for now. And the thing we want to replace is this enrolled URL. So the way I do this is search here for where is the word enrolled being used. And then we come to the conclusion that it's this route. So this is the route that we actually do. And then enrolled path takes the course ID and the enrollment ID. So the enrollment ID is the actual ID of the person taking the enrollment, which basically ties a course to a person and keeps track of what lessons they had. And what we do here is basically just import this newly created module. So this thing should be called course player. And I think here in my tsconfig, this should be added as well. Yeah, so kickstart course/player. I'm going to change this to course-player because I want this thing to be publishable and also be good citizens and try to order this a bit alphabetically. I think that's important. Now, and I'm running my dev server here, and this will not find it because the dev server started after we added. Let's just make it fail to make sure that we're still sane and everything works as expected. Hey, it seems, oh, there you go. It doesn't work. So when changing something, nxserve has to restart. The way you said kickstart, it sounded to me like Git Shark. I'm so confused why you were talking about my app. Well, let's do so. I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't checked it yet, but it does look interesting. And I think I saw it in your Twitter profile, if I'm right. And so CrutchCorn has been working on an app called Git Shark, which is a mobile GitHub client. Yeah, there you go, some screenshots. And you know, I like this, and there's definitely, or most likely, people going to be like, hey, why would you build something like this because GitHub just launched it? Or There's already a ton of platforms out there that do the same. People are saying the same stuff with me building a course platform. And yeah, I like people that just go out there and build whatever they want to see. When I look at the course platforms like Teachable and Thinkific, I like them and they're very polished and they have some nice stuff, but I miss stuff in there. And I always have the feeling like I would do this differently. And this is, I think, a good motivation to just start building it and see where you go. It's super different from Git client. It's actually full Git client. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. I'm actually going to check it out. Yeah. Git dark mode. What's this? This sounds interesting. Okay, yeah. Let me start it here, and I'll definitely check it out. I'm going to download it some of these days, one of these days. But yeah, check out GitShark for those of you who haven't checked it. Give Corbin a follow. He's called Crutchcorn, I think, in every social network that I know he's on. Yep, you're more than welcome, Corbin. It's Shameless Plug Saturday. That's also in my Saturday night live stream. It's shameless plug time. You can plug everything. We can just publicly say like, oh, we're going to rip off this UI. There's little shame in our Saturday nights. I like it that way. So, meanwhile, I got myself into an error here because I made my import work. So this part works, but then the module that I'm loading here is called differently. So let's move on with this one. And this should start. And now the first thing I need to do is add some actual routing to this, because this routing, so I'm going to add router module child and add an empty array. Now, one of the things I've been using for a while now is a ng generate command that actually builds a whole structure for you. So let me show it to you all. So what I want to end up with here is a pages directory. And inside pages, I want to have like course player index, I think I'm going to call it. And that's going to be the main page that rendered. And then we're going to have components. And then I'm going to add a few components to it there, like the sidebar and like, I don't know, the lesson view. Let's come up with some good names. The command I'm using here is nxgenerate at narwhal/angular semicolon module. And this is already, I always need to check out how the real syntax is. But this is a command I've been using quite frequently over the last few months. I'm going to call this one course player index. Project I'm in is course-player. The route I want to have here, I actually don't want to have a route at this level, but you need to pass in some string. And then the module, which is the course-player module. So what I'm telling this command here is like generate an Angular module. Call it pages/course page index. So from wherever location it creates a pages folder and then a component with this name. In the project course player, so that's the NX project that we just created here in the workspace. Create that route in the module course, which is this module. I'm going to dry run it to make sure if that's the right thing that I'm doing here. But yeah, this should give us whatever we want. So it's libs course player, source lib pages, course player index, and then I got a bunch of these files. And so one thing I don't really like is that it creates the HTML and says outside of the template. I think I should be able to have inline styles. I think I should have inline styles configured actually. Let's see. Oh. ngconfig is the thing that gets read. So it's actually ngconfig that handles this stuff. Narwhal stuff is just a wrapper around it. I'm going to do this dry run again and see if this fixes it. Now it doesn't fix it. I'm not going to spend any more time on it right now. I'm just going to do it manually. I really like the things. So what this generated for us here lazy loaded. And this lazy loaded route is going to pages course player index and then course player index module. And then here we have our core player index component. So for me, this is the quickest way to generate a lazy loaded route and route to it, actually route to the thing. I really like this. So I said I don't want to have a path here. We're going to have the path right here. So we should just be able to take our course ID, our enrollment ID, and run with it. So I'm going to quickly set up, for now, a params servable. First, let me inject a route, activated route, private read-only route, activated route. And then params $ is this .route .params. And let's get rid of this template file, make this a template string, and just print out parameters, pass it through the async pipe, and then pipe it through JSON. And the whole style, we can get rid of it for now. This auto formats, let's run the dev server here so we can see successfully, and we can get rid of our 2 obsolete files. And this leaves you with a super clean component. It's actually a module with a component with a test. Here is where you would import everything you need. So if you need some third-party stuff or some UI stuff, you'll just import it here. I really like this way of doing stuff. And as said, I'll be generating components next to this. So here we'll have components and we'll have modules there as well. So basically each component has their own module. I'm getting more and more convinced that that's the right way to do. Now, because everything worked as expected, we can just now take course ID, enrollment ID, and do anything with that. So that's pretty sweet. One of the other things I'd like to do in this design, so the last design was totally tied to GRX, and it's probably a good thing to use for an app of this size and this shape. Kind of limits us. So what I'm going to do is create a core player service and have available through that service, and then we can always say like, okay, let's now back the service by NGRX. That makes sense. And if not, we'll get to that at some point. So get a service here, make it injectable. I'm not going to provide it in root. I'm going to actually manually provide it here in the course module. And you know what? I might actually. Oh, one of the things I've been playing around with is creating separate libraries that just handle state. For now, I'm just going to run with this, and I'm going to say course player module. I think I'm going to provide it here. I'm going to provide it here. Oh, let me. Course player service. Go, and then inside our course player, in our actually course player index, let me at least see the errors if they're there. And then inside of this constructor, I'm going to inject service called course player service. Up until now, no real surprises, and that's good. I like that. So what I'd actually like to do is let's just get the course. Let's make sure that we can get all of the course. I get that from the service, and I just want to have a method called course, and pass into this method are actually these parameters. So I want to get the course and I want to get the enrollment at the same time. So I think what I'm going to do, I need to check it out. There's several ways to go about this. So eventually I will just take these from NGRX and have a selector that gets this data for me. So what I can do right here is just have some temporary data here that we know what we're working on. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually have a subscribe to this parameters, so params, and pipe to that, and have a switch map that takes these things, pass it into this course. So the things that I'm taking are course ID and enrollment ID. Being straight away these two. And inside this switch map, comment here so that prettier doesn't make it all one line. Create this course method, and now we take an enrollment and a course ID, and both are of type string. So destructure these. Okay, perfect. Now actually to fetch the data, I'm going to inject the data service. It's called the admin data service, but I'm just going to refer to it as data. A lot of these things admin data service. A lot of these things will TBD. But yeah, I think if you make some clean layers, then it doesn't really matter that much. Then you can always twist it and shape it to whatever form. Now, what I actually want to do here is I get this enrollment. So let's look it up what it is. So how this works is that this data service is a convenient service I have where I do a few course by slug, or well, I have a few convenient methods here. But other than that, it just passes into my Angular CLI SDK that's created based on my GraphQL schema. Huge auto-generated file. And these are just operations that I just can call into. That I don't need to manually use the Apollo client. I'll just do it this way. So let's see if we have something course enrollments. Yeah, this is probably what we want to do. Then course enrollment, it takes the course ID. So course enrollment singular. This is the one we're actually interested in. Course enrollment singular, and this takes variables, and this is a course ID and an enrollment ID. So this is the exact shape that we have here. That's nice, so we can actually type this using this stuff from our generated code base. This is obviously super nice because when you then change something in your backend, TypeScript will automatically start to scream if this shape changes. So I really like having this action, if you will. Let's see how this thing is actually called inside our service. Course enrollment. So it should be, I need to call into this.data, and then I can say course enrollment, pass in the enrollment ID and the course ID. So cool. And then this should give us, if we say course right here, it should give us access to the course and the actual enrollment. So this should give us more than enough to work with for building this thing. There we are, data.enrollment. So here we have the actual enrollment. We have the course that we're enrolling in. We have basically anything. We're probably overfetching quite a bit here because we get it everything all at once. But at the moment that we are using this inside an NGRX store, this is super handy because you only have to load the stuff once, and then the actual enrollment is the thing that changes and updates. We're going to be using a socket for that, or a subscription to call into to use GraphQL terms. But that's for another day. First, we're going to render it out. We're going to build the player. And I'm still of the pool of people, so we can get rid of this because we're routing to this thing. I think it's super nice to get selectors when you're not using it. And what I was about to say, I'm still of the school of people that likes to divide between container components and what is it? Presentational components. I'm not swearing. It's not that I can't work without it, but I just do think it makes a lot of sense to have some division that way. So I'm gonna look for a command, for a generate command. So nx generate add narwhal/angular components, and then component slash let me see, course player. I'm going to call this thing main. I think it's going to be the main view, and going to get this into the right project. So that's course player. And actually, what I want to do here is get this registered in its own module. So what I first need to do is nx generate at narwhal angular module components slash course player main, and let's see what that generates me. And of course, I need to tell it which project it generates in. So I'm going to say project course dash player, and this will generate the module. So I'm happy with that. Now I can create my component nx generate at narwhal angular component slash course player main. In the project course dash player, and in the module course that player dash main. Let's see if this works. So I'm gonna dry run this. There you go. Okay, cool. This works because it creates this module, it updates the module here, and it creates the component. So let's get rid of dry run and generate this component here. That's cool. Now, when we look at this method, course enrollment, what we actually get back here is a, I don't think I can point it out. Can't really type it. So let them WebStorm. So one of the tricks I do, you just type this with anything that it's not it, that you're sure that it's not. And TypeScript should start complaining. There you go. Hey, you're trying to return it. You're trying to have course return a string, but actually I return an observable query object, blah, blah, and then just import this one. Observable from RxJS, please. So now we can see, like, okay, this is what we get back. And once we check in here, we have an enrollment and we have progress. The course enrollment query that we have return progress. And this is what we want to do in our, what we want to use in our main component. So this main component, I'm just going to work with inputs here because it's a presentational component. I'm going to say enrollment, type course enrollment, and progress, course enrollment. I think course enrollment progress. There you go. That's all good. Did I make an error? And I'm gonna make a template string here and just gonna debug it for now. Enrollment, pipe it to JSON, enrollment, semicolon. Do the same thing for progress. Go, and this should show us the stuff. We can get rid of ng on init because I'm really going to use it. And we're going to get rid of this name. So the selector is just course player main, and then the index component. We're going to use, for now, an ng container with an ngIf. And we're going to do this classic example now, and we're going to load this course player main here and set enrollment to course sorry, to scourse course dot data dot enrollment. And also add the second. Let's first import it. So WebStorm now says export course player main component because like, hey, it got generated here, got declared here, but it got not exported. So let's make WebStorm export that one. So this one added to the exports array. And now we're here. Let's take a quick look what it nags about. Right, okay, so what it says here is that like this complex type that I have, which is the way Apollo generates this type, is not assignable to your course enrollment. So we can quickly say course enrollment details fragment. And how this works, for those of you who are not aware of this structure, might be interesting to take a look. So I defined a few queries here, and I can say course enrollment. And this query is what we're actually consuming. Oh, there's no support for GraphQL. Let's install it. But yeah, this is basically the query that we're executing. So we take a course ID and a enrollment ID right here. And we execute this query, course enrollment, and the query progress. And then this should be the course enrollment details. So I'm going to look at the fragment here, fragment course enrollment details, and we see that we get some stuff from the course enrollment ID created at status. We get some details of the course. We get details of the owner, the student, instructor, the project. So that's a whole bunch, and they claim it's not compatible with whatever I called in the course player main. So this course enrollment has a bunch of fields, and they're basically incompatible, any of those. But actually, frankly, for now, I don't really care. I'm going to run with this for now. I know that this is more or less what we want. So let me get rid of the template here and the CSS. So we just have our tree file components / module. And then inside here, what we're going to do is set another progress and have it as in course.data.progress. One of the things we probably want to do here is have some actions that go out of here. Hello, Dominique. Good morning. Einen schönen guten Morgen. Wie geht es Ihnen? That's just me showing off that I know some German. Add a small loading indicator because these things might take a while. WebStorm import this from Kickstart UI. Kickstart UI is the UI library that I work with in this thing, that I more or less built for this project. So inside course player main, what I'm going to have an output, and I'm going to be very generic. I'm going to call this action, and it's a new event emitter, and then I can just pass any action, bubble it up to the container component. So let's add it one here and move to our container component called index. And I'm going to say action is handle action and take whatever event you get. So then this is the place where we call into the service, and for now just say unhandled action and print out the event. So that's that. Let me close the terminal and close the file tree here. So we have some more things to see. And we can get rid of the 2 lines. So I think the main player index should not have a whole lot of more stuff than this. I mean, this action handler will be passed straight to the service. Actually, while we're at it, let's just make this handle action, pass it into the service, and run it there. So at least we're not tempted to create this stuff here. Make this handle action a method, take an event, and print out for now. So let's save this and check if we don't have any compilation errors. Looks like we don't. And then we see course player, and we should see a loading indicator here. Oh, we don't even see the loading indicator. Let's go back to course. Let's do a refresh here, so we're not caching it. And then go to introduction to GraphQL, resume course, and then it's too fast to show a loading indicator. Well, that probably will be different once its system is live, but let's not worry about that too much. So I already know I want to have three things. I want to have a bar on top here that allows you to go back, and that probably shows something like the course name. I think in the actual view mode, this bar will be not in place. So a navigation bar here, and then a split layout. At some point, going to be doing responsiveness, but I don't really care. For now, it's just used on big screens anyway. And then with that, we can have a sidebar, and we can have a area where we actually view the lessons, the lesson area, probably. Course player lesson might be a good name. So we can close our index, and I'm going to close this module, tsconfig. And this course player main, this is where we actually want to do the stuff. And what I'm going to start off with is a div, and I'm going to use some classes here. So first of all, set height to 100. I'm going to add a border. Now this border, I'm always adding it because I'm not very sure if this works the way I want. So I want this green thing to appear, the green border to appear full height. There you go. Okay, cool. But now it scrolls, so we need to make sure that we set some overflow. But yeah, this so far so good. And we're going to add a row here. Let's see. Let's first add a header. So we have one class header. Call this header. Let's say div course player header, just so it stands out. Gonna say header. And then I'm gonna have another class here, which is the row, and this should take up the rest of any space. And inside the row, I'm gonna have a column, which is gonna be like 3 sidebar, and have a column which is gonna be the rest of the 9, which is the main. Inside the main, this is where I want to have most of my data for now. This is also where I say overflow auto. So this thing needs to overflow. And if we load this right now, it will probably still not work as expected because we need to add flexbox. So this will all probably be very linear. Well, header, sidebar, top of each other, but then this doesn't work as expected. So let's set this in the proper way. So I'm going to make a flex box and set flex column so it's beneath each other. And I'm going to say, I think I'm going to say justify content between, and then give this div the flex grow property. So 1. All goes well, this should already look a bit better. It looks like it didn't change that much. So go back here, and actually what I'm going to do is add some more borders. So when I add more borders, so I'm going to call this one border info. So it just gives me some visual clues of where things are. Border danger. And I think one of the things I'm missing here is setting the height to 100 on some of these. That combination, setting height to 100 and having overflow auto, is what actually makes this thing scroll. Okay, so what we see right here is we have the header, and this is inside the blue bar, and then we have a small tiny red bar. So this whole row actually has a red border, but is the border visible somewhere else? I don't think it is. Ah, it is here on the bottom. right? So let's play around with this and set height to 100 here as well. That fixes it. Hey, oh, look at this. This already looks way better. So this one needs header had a height of 100. So just put that one here. And I know I should probably use like grid for this, or I might. I'm kind of lazy and I like the bootstrap styles. I like boring stuff. Been working with this for years and it works for me. So cool. Okay, so we have the main area scrolling. We have bar, we have a sidebar. Now, so header bar, yep, check. Sidebar, check. And then this is the main area with the scrolling course content. So for now, that's about as much attention as I want to give this. What I probably want to do is get here some more height. So what I'm going to do is set some padding. Just give 3. And what we're going to do is use the course name here. So I know that in the enrollment, we have access to the course, we have access to the title. And let's make this an H4. Set a class without any margin. So we don't get a weird margin on the bottom that's larger than the other one. And I'll probably also want to add a backlink there. Let's see how this looks. And this is my introduction to GraphQL. There you go. Sweet. Another thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make these ones all very safe. But rather have them not appear than have an error appear. Now, what I'm going to do here is create another module for the course player sidebar. Run it to make sure that this generates the one I want. And this does generate the one I want. Let's create the sidebar here. And then actual component, course player sidebar. And this course player sidebar is going to be generated in the course player sidebar module. I'm living on the edge here, folks. I'm not even doing the dry run anymore. Just get rid of this extra selector tag. Now, this course player sidebar, what I'm going to feed it in is actually going to be the whole course. Because course takes course has an object modules, and modules have an object lessons, and lessons have sections. So there's kind of a tiered architecture there. So yeah, this is just going to be my course player sidebar. And it complains that it's not exported. So yeah, we need to export it again. Like we did right here, it's declared, but it's not exported. So export it. This will also make it imported. There you go. It's now exported. So yeah, input course. Input, please. Input course of type course. We get from Angular, from Kickstart SDK. There you go. Get rid of ng on init. And get external template because I don't like external templates. And for now, I'm just going to print this out. I don't need an external style either. So let's, yep. And I probably don't need a constructor here either. So let's see if this compiles without any issues. It does not show anything. I don't see any errors either. Ah, what? This is because I don't pass in a course. Enrollment.course and access safely. I'm pretty sure that we also want to have like action here. Let's not worry with it too much. But there you go. Once we refresh, we get the course here, and like it looks like I also want to make this one scrollable. This fella on the side. So let's do that right now. Go back to our index component and actually go back to our main component. Overflow auto and hide. Juan Sernaleiton, or Joan, not sure how to pronounce your name. Do you have used Tailwind CSS? I've not used it in projects. I've looked at it. I try to work with it in an NX workspace. I used some of the generators that are there, schematics that create it. I like it and I like what it does, but the way I currently use it, I don't really see a benefit other than small bundle size, which is important. But for instance, for this app, I just want to get the stuff out and run with it. And then at some later point, check out what I want to do. Now, the good thing, what I like about Tailwind CSS is that I can basically make sure I use the same classes and re-implement it. I've been using Bootstrap project, and in a lot of other projects, I still like Bootstrap very much. It doesn't seem to be popular, but I really like it. And the good thing is that I can just rework these classes, the Tailwind classes. So I'm definitely check it out. I might do this in the channel as well at some point. Let me know if you want to check that out. If you want me to check that out, I can definitely take a look at that stuff. And here we go. Okay, this is so far so good. And there's like some extra height, and that's probably because I'm setting height here to 100. And this might actually need to be 100 minus. This is probably the height 100 minus whatever size of my bar is. 60. Related with that. I don't really know at this moment. I'm not going to look into this. Goal is to have this structure working, and let's work with that first. So this sidebar, let me build out here what I'd like it to do. So what I'd like it to do is have modules, and I'm going to use a list group for this, and have a list group item, which is going to be an ng4. And it's going to be course.modules. Each module.title is a ng4. That's module of title here. This is the first thing we want to do, and then inside this, we later want to go over the actual lessons, and we also want to show the content of each lesson. So it's going to be quite a busy tree. But I'm fine with that. So this is one. This list group item at this moment, it's just going to be debugging. So I'm going to have another list group nested in here, and I'm going to give it a margin on the left of 2, I think. Then copy over this list group item here. It's me doing very imperative and predictable stuff. What I want to do here is module.lessons. So this is the structure. A module has lessons. So let lesson of lessons get here lesson.title. This should give us some indentation and show some form of a tree object. Now the outer one probably is not going to be, there you go, cool. So this at least looks a bit like what we want to achieve. The outer one actually makes sense to have an accordion. One of the things I like about Bootstrap is that there's a ton of existing code that I can use. And that's a kind of thing with Tailwind. You have like snippets that are there and stuff you can reuse, but I'm not really aware of regular integration of Tailwind at the component level. So in my case, for this app, it means I need to write a whole ton of custom stuff. I'm not really shy for that, but at this moment, I just got other things to do that I think add more value than changing the view engine or the CSS engine that I'm using, CSS framework. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the accordion. I'm gonna let this import accordion module. Very cool. Then instead of the outer list group, I'm gonna run with this accordion. So this accordion and then the ng div here, I'm gonna change this with an ng container, so it doesn't really matter what element we loop over. And have an accordion group inside of this. And the heading of this accordion group for now will be module.title. And the content will be this second list group. And get rid of this debugging line here. So this should give us at least some better looking way to present stuff. I have an error. Okay, yeah, so the issue is here that I had it auto import here in the sidebar module. I had it auto import accordion module. I need to call for root on this thing because I'm not using it in some shared place. And I really try to prevent to do too much shared modules because they tend to grow in a huge app like this. So introduction about GraphQL. So nice. I think I'd like to have maybe all of them. So what I can do is set f equals first. There you go, let f equals first. This creates a local variable that's true if the first one is iterated on. And then I set is open f. And once we get the process really in there, so the process of somebody following this course, I will want to open person is on. For now though, this totally works. So we get the first one open, get rid of the margin left here because I don't really care about the margin. Actually, I might just get rid of the whole list group. That might be a better thing to do. So yeah, this is going to be fun. We have to have some way of figuring out these little balls here and see like the progress. So yeah, that's going to be fun stuff. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of the list group. I'm just going to call it. I'm just using a div here, using list group item. I don't really need it. I am going to give it some adding of 2. And then what I want to do is show the lesson content. So one of the difference in my core software compared to other core software is that you can add multiple sections. So when we take a look at, let's call this section title, and if it's not set, we're going to say type. So once you look at, if you look at like Thinkific, and this is the same for other course platforms, you're just going to have like one content item. So in here you can have like content item is text or content item is video, and that's about it. Videos generally offer you to have like some form of text before. But I actually like to have 2 things. I like to have multiple things. So I would love it if you let's not play this video at this point. I would just love it if you could tick off, okay, chapter 1, introduction, there's a piece of text, there's a video, and maybe like there's a quiz. And just that's one page, it's one lesson. So this is one of the things I think that I'm basically missing in existing platforms. And I think that would be nice to have. So, okay, here we added Markdown, and then here, yep, we start adding more stuff. So let me visually make this a bit clearer what we hear. So the sections here is going to be a div. Let's run with div. Let's make this one a small and give it a class of text muted. I said this before, I'm going to say again, if you see me do stuff that you're like, but this is deprecated or this is weird or that doesn't make sense, by all means, share it with me. I'd love to learn from you guys. And I got a certain way of doing my things, and I'm sure that's not the best or smartest way. I just happen to use whatever works for me, but I can definitely improve stuff. Now, what I actually think we should be doing and we should be looking at is like this fella here, this page is going to be a router outlet. And we actually want to route to the actual lesson content. And that way these fellas can just be links. And this one can be just a page. I think that's the best thing to do. Now, in order to get there quickly, what I'm going to do is create an A here. Use this lesson title as the content. Make this as a router link. Actually interpret this thing and just say lesson.id. It needs to import router module. Well, there you go. Import router module. And at some point, it would be nice if you could click right away to one of the content types underneath it. But for now, I'm not going to bother with that because it's a detail. And this should give us a nice URL. And if you look at the bottom of my screen, you can see that this actually appends the ID of this lesson to the URL. So this is nice, so you can have deep links to the actual content. Now this kind of changes this course player index, which is the main page. And this will give us another course player line, I think, actually being routed in this same thing and have a route called semicolon lesson ID. Right? So this is what I want to achieve. Now I'm trying to build as little as components myself. I like generating this stuff. So I'm going to use whatever I used for the index. I'm going to call it course player lesson. Project course player route lesson ID. I'm going to change it here anyway to course player. I'm not even going to dry run because I'm sure that this generates what I like. There you go, course player lesson. I'm going to do this semicolon lesson ID. There's that. And this means that we can change here in the course player, in our course player index component. Let me share all the screens. The course player main. Please be so kind to open it. My computer is busy again. No, it's not busy. It's not too busy. Application not responding. Oh, there you go. It's resolved already. Okay. It was kind of scared that I would close it, which I totally would, but it doesn't seem necessary. Okay, so get router outlet here. This might need a, there you go, import the router module. And then inside our lesson component, what we actually can do here, we can look at this index. I'm going to take everything here and look at all this stuff, get rid of ng on it, and the lesson $sign I'm going to take here is lesson ID. I think I'm going to take all of them, lesson ID as well. And I'm going to go to the service and add this lesson method here, and this lesson method will do takes course enrollment and lesson ID. I think what I want to do is this.data.sdk.course lesson. It's singular, and this takes course ID. This only takes lesson ID. In a while since I work with this code base, you can probably tell. Now, this is not permanent. This will be handled soon-ish by NGRX, where I just want to have like a method lesson, and this should be using the NGRX router stuff. So it takes this from the route, and I don't need to actually wire it up manually. For now, I'm just going to run with this. Because NGRX is not one of the things I'll be working with today. At least it doesn't seem likely. And here, what I'm going to do is read this, simple R async and JSON. Yep, and make this call, make this just output lesson. It's a page, it's a routed component, so we don't need selector. It's a container component, so we probably not going to add styles. And that means that we can get rid of these. Now, currently we're not routing anywhere, but if we now click one of these, hey, we should be able to. Yeah, okay, so the issue is in the course player module, people that are paying attention probably already noticed this. I need to add it to children. So this is a child route, so I can say children in, and make sure that it appears inside here. So now when it re-renders, lessons, hello, hello. I think I was gone for a second. Let me share my screen again. I had a connection hiccup here. It's Saturday and they don't expect anybody to do streaming, but let me get the screen back here and put this one there. I'm going to quickly check on Twitch how this appears, if this still looks to be all right. Any comments, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to check if I can improve the quality of the stream. Gonna load Twitch anytime now. Yep, it looks like I'm online on Twitch. Perfect. So let's move on. Somehow this doesn't appear, so this is kind of strange. I think the issue is because the children shouldn't be added here, but I should do this right here. So in my route, in my course player, this is where I should lazy load the other one, I think. Sure. See if this works. Children here, and then move one folder up, and then course player lesson. There you go. And see how this renders out. Take a sip of coffee while we wait. There we go. Yay. Okay, so now here's the lesson, introduction, untitled lesson, about the spec. So this is also a smart component that's rendering it right now. So let's create a dump component and a representational component to do this. And this is course player lesson. Course player section. So I'm going to copy over whatever I did for sidebar, call it section, course player section. And create this one here. And take what I did with sidebar, sidebar with section, and this one also be a section, and that should generate another component here. It's actually going to render out the section. There you go. Cool, that's one. And for now, I think that is sufficient. Let's go this way. So the course player lesson, what I want to do here is the same that I want to do that I did with the other one. So do the ngF trick, ngF lesson async as lesson. I get my template snippet here. So say else loading. That would be great if this just would render. Here we take lesson and do that for now. See. Put some stuff down here, and if it render correctly, it did render correctly. We didn't really change the thing, but that's good. So good stuff. Let's move on and get rid of these. This one, course player section. So the course player section, what I want this to do is a one section. And to do this, we have it take an input called section of course section, I think. Lesson section is the name of the object from the SDK. And I'm not going to need styles at this point right here. So call this section, have some debugging info, get rid of the CSS and the HTML so it's clean. And I'm going to take course player section, and then in my lesson component right here, I'm going to loop over my sections and import this one. Cool. So code completion kicks in. I can import this module. And what I can do here is say ng container ng4 let section of lesson.sections. Right, okay, so this is not lesson yet, this is lesson.data stuff. Call this result for now. And this is result of data lesson sections. This is like an indication like, yeah, we need another component between these one. So I'm looking over this stuff straight away. Let's happen in a bit. So we're going to make this an element, have it exported and import it, and then say section equals section. And then with this, I'm also going to change my index component because here I also have a loading, but I'm not calling it. So I'm going to say else loading. We should have some spinners on the screen if stuff takes longer than expected. There you go, small little spinner. Okay, cool. So we have a section called of type markdown, another section. We have a section here, and then here this is where we want to land eventually. Now sections have a type, and this is of type lesson section type. And we want to render them differently. So currently we have a video section, video right here. We have a markdown section, and we have a download section. Here you go, downloads. So depending on which type of section it is, we want to render some more components. Now, and this project also has a CMS in it where I already have components to render these out. I'm going to reuse these. And the way I do this is in this section, I'm going to get a type. And use an ng switch here. switch, and I always need to look up the syntax, so I'm just peeking in my memory here. So I got a thing that keeps my copy paste history, but I don't have it here. So I'm going to look at CMS render component. Render, there you go. NG switch, here's the thing with a switch case. So I'm going to use this, an ng container with a switch, and I'm going to switch on section.type. In order for this to work fully type safe, we want to have a types object here. A types property, types is lesson section type from the SDK. And then we can just say types downloads is the first, markdown is the second, video is the last. So markdown and video, and get rid of these. Then we can just say CMS downloads. This one can be imported. I'm probably not exporting it right. See where we are, core section module. There you go. I'm not exporting it correctly. Go here to blocks, index, and add the download module here. So the next thing I want to use here, CMS downloads, and this takes a config. There you go, and that's going to be section.config. There we are with that. Same for CMS markdown. Import the thing. Fix the actual export. This is the one that we want to do right here. So export from, oh, let's duplicate this one. Change the path from here. And this can be imported from blocks as well. And then this is the last one for video. So I already know I want to do this video one. Let's do this straight away, do the video module. Video. And make sure that we import it. Also want to pass in the config here, so that's section.config. And goes for markdown. Section.config. So cool, there's that. Another thing I'm going to do is make sure that all these section configs are accessed safely, because a lot of null in GraphQL by default. And then we're making sure that this all renders out. And this should give us already something that looks like a course. Where we are right now, and I've been streaming for like 1.5 hours. So, okay, cool. So this is, let me see, the introduction here, markdown, no content found. Let's see what we're doing right here. I'm going to print the section.config and pipe it through JSON. I'm going to do that right here. Takes an object, and what I think happens is that the shape of these things is different between the course and between the lesson or the CMS. It says it's null. I'm kind of amazed by that, and I'm why this is, because the markdown is not stored in the section config. The markdown is actually stored in content. Now, and here's an interesting thing. In the other course software that we talked about before, you can embed a video like this, but it will appear like text. So you can do what people want to do, like have some text and then a video, but it will appear either as text, or you can have a video and then not have any introductory text. I both worlds. So my markdown is actually rendered here in the introduction. And then if we look at the video, for instance, so using queries lesson has a video. This is actually embedded video.embed code. So what I need to do is change this markdown case and say config.section.content. Actually, to make sure that we can also have content before this config and then markdown. So what I'm going to do here is add content of type string, optional. Make this so pull this one markdown, the getter, use the getter right here. Data is markdown. I might actually call it data. Call this data. Data is either markdown, and I'm going to have this be the second option. So we're either going to take config.markdown, otherwise we're going to take config.content, and otherwise we're going to have it print no content found. I'm going to do exactly the same with the video snippet. So I'm just going to make sure that these things render the same way, and then once it all runs and is all well, we can always clean it up and make sure that it works as expected. This is still not showing up. That's because in the lesson component, in the section component, we need to make sure that content is set to this content. Get rid of the section debugger here. Now, and then to make sure that we can also have content before a video and also before downloads, I'm just going to duplicate this section here. To markdown a video, untitled lesson, introduction, untitled lesson, about specification, untitled lesson 2, using mutations. So here you go, and then video here. So video says no video snippet found. That's correct, because it cannot find a video snippet. So this is happening here because it doesn't have config.snippet. Do here is add a method called snippet. And I have it return this.config.snippet. Or same thing. So in CMS Markdown, I had content is string. Well, an embed code is also a string. And then inside our course player section, I'm going to use CMS video content equals config. Now this is called .video. And I need to check out embed. I think I called it embed code. I'm not sure why I did this. Yeah, there you go, video.embed code. This is definitely something I'd like to change. Something for another moment. I realize I postpone a lot of decisions for another moment, and I'm aware that I do. But yeah. And for download, so this, what we're looking at right here, this is actually the way the form is built. Downloads. Quickly look at the CMS downloads component, CMS downloads component. There you go. Config, and it takes config.downloads.length. So it looks like these two are compatible. Don't need to add another property here. Recompiling, and I would be very happy if I would see a video being rendered here. Still no video snippet found. And that is because no video snippet found. We no longer want to look config.snippet. We just want to check snippet. Can I read property snippet of undefined? Yep, this is some save access operator that I need to do. This.config is not set. And what we can do is snippet. I'm actually not sure if we do need to sanitize it. If anybody knows, iframe, YouTube embed code, iframe is this stuff that we generally sanitize, or is this not stuff we sanitize? Go, yes, I rendered my video. I think. I'm not sure. It's my very cheesy BEEMAN.DEV intro. Yay. Cool. So yeah, cool. So we can render everything, and then here we can say, okay, download free starting guide. So we can add downloads. So we might as well take a quick look at how this is edited. So in this top level bar, for now, I'm going to add to the edit option. And this is in the course player main, in the component here. Right behind the title, I want to actually add a link that is just a pencil. So I'm doing, and this link takes us to something on the course. So we can say router link, make it sure that gets interpreted, enrollment.course.edit URL. And edit URL is not the only thing we want to link to. We want to link to edit URL. Then we want to say courses. And we want to say enrollment.course.id. And this is what we want to edit. This should give us a link. And if we click that link, we click the little pencil, we should be taken to the admin side. And now I'm going to reveal what the admin looks like. It looks like this, renders, but not totally. So, okay, it says course project here is undefined. I'm going to quickly print out this thing. One thing I need to do is text mute this one and not this one. And this needs a margin on the left of 2. And to be sure with whatever we're doing, print out course enrollment course JSON. Make sure that this edit URL is showing something untitled. I think it does. And I also think I know how we can fix this. So we have a course property here, course property. This is the course property, and then edit URL, and then here that URL gets returned undefined from the backend. So what we actually expect here is the slug of the course. When we look at the course CRUD resolver, API course CRUD resolver, we see that we have an edit URL that takes generates this URL dynamically, and it takes the course and then the project of the course and the name. /course slug. Okay, so cool. So that means in our player, we need just the edit URL of the course, and that's sufficient. But we need to make sure that it doesn't render undefined. To do this, we go to our query here, and inside course query, there you go, course summary details. And I think we need to be inside the course here. Details. And inside course, we also need to take a project. So we're going to say course and say course project. Take ID and name. I think. Now we need to regenerate this SDK. So I got a command for that, SDK generate watch. And this is what I think one of the funniest or the best parts of this whole system. You regenerate your GraphQL.ts, and this regenerates the code you're using in your Angular app. So after this is triggered, we can see that the Angular app is rebuilding. And we can then see that this reloads because of how Angular reloads stuff. And once that's reloading, anytime now, it's still undefined. Okay, so let's see what we're missing here. So in course CRUD, I'm just print course. prefix it with course. So I'm pretty sure that this is the thing we're logging out. And run the thing again. And there might actually be something that I need to fix somewhere down in the, what is it? Enrollment. So enrollment is over. Something. Let us see how we call this thing. So course enrollment is how we refer to it locally. Course enrollment. So this is the course enrollment method. Search through the API here and search for course enrollment, which is a method. And that's this one. Find course enrollment by ID. Cool. So this says course enrollment.find one, where ID is this. And then in the course enrollment service, this is being called in the API course resolver, course enrollment resolver. And here I have a course method. In this method, we need to say include project. True. Let me quickly see if that renders. So right here, this is server being restarted. And please start now. I ask you friendly. There you go. Now when we refresh, this might very well work. Yeah, there you go. Courses, project BEEMAN course. So our undefined notification is gone here. And then if we click on this little pencil, we should be taken to the admin UI. There you go. Isn't that beautiful? I truly think it is. Cool. So back to this. API course enrollment resolver, we can get rid of the debugging here because I'm fairly sure that we get the right data now. And we can get rid of this whole terminal. And now we have a quick way to edit our courses. So let's go and add some more fun stuff to see if this actually is working the way we want. So yeah, here course player and course player lesson. I'm not happy with these names, but I'm gonna keep it for now. And in the main section, I want to get rid of this pre-key. Once this reloads, we should be able to see our course. There you go. Untitled lesson. Now, actually, in the course, what we're going to do here in the course player lesson, I'm going to cheat a little bit because inside of here, I actually want to say with an H2, I think. I don't like cheating here. Main section, sidebar. With something like render. I'm going to go with render. So do whatever I did with section and rename it. So section, going to rename it render. It will render a single lesson. Again, do what I do with section and rename it to render, render, and render. And that gives us a render method. There you go. Okay, cool. And this render method, this one takes a lesson. I'm going to get rid of template URL, I'm going to get rid of external style, make this a template string, change the selector. I'm going to say lesson, now lesson title. Get rid of this one. Take an input here, say lesson of type lesson. There you go. Beauty. And then this is the actual one we're going to take into lesson. I'm not going to do this here. Instead, export and import and say, okay, your lesson here, this is lesson. I already like this a lot better. Now, TypeScript still a bit complaining, but that's for another moment. Again, whether you'll ever meet. And this is the course player section, which is what we want to import right here. And then here we can freely do a H2 and say lesson.title. There you go. And now I'm happy. I'm happy with this. And here I also would like to have a link, like in the main thing, that just takes me to editing this lesson directly. And this link will obviously not be visible once you're a user taking this lesson. But this is not where we're at today. So I'm going to take this one here, import it from router module. And to do this, we should also have the course. So we have lesson.module.course. Should have this one. For now. So course edit URL, because if we have this edit URL, I can easily tack on whatever URL it is that takes us to the lesson editor. And otherwise we have to do the same dance we did a bit ago. Using mutations, this doesn't seem to work just yet. Let's see what this gives us. There you go. Lesson is just a very, course is just a very simplified model here. So again, we're going to our SDK, source lib, source queries, course, and then in the course queries, course enrollment details. So we're looking for this fragment course, and then we have, it's actually a lesson. Lesson query, we have lesson details. So the fragment lesson details gives us modules, course slug. I also want course edit URL. Edit URL. Just again, this regenerates our GraphQL, which in turn triggers our app called admin to rebuild, which in turn refreshes this. And there you go. And we have the same issue. We say projects, undefined courses, course mutation index. So what I think happens here is that on the API, let's get rid of this one. Let's close this one. Let's close the bottom. API module resolver. And here we have a course, and this course doesn't include the project. This should include the project. While it's being retrieved. And what I'm doing here is, so these are the resolver fields. So I define a field course on my module. At the GraphQL query that we just opened, this one. And then inside this module, which is a GraphQL type, we have a virtual field or a custom created field called course, which is this one. Course right here. And from that, I take the ID, the slug, and the edit URL. What I do right here is find course by module, and I call into Prisma to get this one. And while this works, this is built on Prisma 1 and then converted to Prisma 2. And with Prisma 1, I don't need to have all these resolve fields. I can just do the query and query it all at once. But I didn't take the time yet to convert that one. Now when we refresh this, backend should have been restarted, and this should give us /projects/bman. There you go, /projects, bman courses, introduction to GraphQL. Now let's quickly peek into this. N9 LRV blah blah. And I think the URL is curriculum. And then the name of whatever we're trying to do. So what lesson was this? about using mutations. Using mutations is N9 something. Using mutations here. So it's the course edit URL / curriculum / lessons and then the ID of the lesson. So let's quickly add that as an edit link onto the actual lesson. So here in the course player render, can get rid of the template file. There we go. Copy this link from main and use this little pencil and say lesson.module course.edit URL / curriculum / lesson .id. And with this in place, we should have a link straight away to the edit page, which is exactly what we're after. Now you can go here, edit curriculum, there you go, awesome. So let's make this a bit smaller. This is my updated markdown text. I can add a list here. Well, basically anything you want. Let's see if highlighting works. Script const x is 1, 3. Add some inline GraphQL here just to make sure. Do a query, uptime, query. So just to see if we render this stuff, save this. Here in the downloads, I can add more downloads. So I can say, okay, add another download here. Expression changed after it has been checked, error appears. The blah, some other guide, and make sure that this is like, okay, this is a PDF they download, and the other one is audio. Save this one as well. Click back to the website, go into my course, resume the course, and then while this is loaded, we can load in the using mutations one. There you go, awesome, this works. Okay, so cool. I'm happy about it. You probably heard the happiness. So yeah, cool. This works how I expect it. And let me see what I want to add here, because it's getting there. It's not like super pretty yet. What do they have? Like thing to get rid of the sidebar, which is nice. Well, these continue and mark complete buttons, which I would probably want to stick underneath here, make sure that are always being. I also want to have a back button here, and I actually already know I want to get rid of these fellas. I want to get rid of the navigation bar and just have like an immersive experience like here, where you don't even have your user menu to have this being rendered, the player and the whole player, and nothing but the player, right? Now let's see, what is the actual back URL? It's the root of the app / courses / name of the course / course slug. So that can be hard coded for now. That's really fine. So I'm gonna add a UI link. There we go. And class link, and make this, call this backlink. Find backlink here. Actually making a getter. Backlink is a getter. This getter returns a UI object. It has a path. And the path is this is a path string. Path is /courses plus this.enrollment.course.slug. Safely accessible. And then I'm going to have an icon, which is row left. There we are. Icon gets us back straight away. This is what we want. Awesome sauce. Cool. So for the enrollment, I use UI, and that should also probably fix my height issue here, where I have the second scroll bar. It's kind of a hacky way to work around it, but wouldn't be the first hack I do in this app or in any other app. So in here, home pages module. So this one, router module for child. I think I actually have it here. Yeah, site layout component is defined here. And I'm inside home pages. So what that means is that I have to, yep, I know what I have to do. So I'm going to make another path here, nest it inside here. I'm going to use this one. This one has children as well. And this child is going to pop up to here. That means I can right here. Then in home pages, I'm not going to allow course player here, but I think I'm going to pop this straight in the top level module. Right here. Right here. Right here. Which is already good. TypeScript's not getting furious, and this should render us out of the extra header bar. There you go. Awesome. Okay, so the height is still an issue, but at least we're out of the frame. Another thing we need to do is we need to probably route to the first lesson that we're interested in. So if lesson ID is not set, then we're going to route to the first lesson. And I'm also going to make these sections a bit clearer. So I'm going to go to my section renderer. There, section right here. And render this in a card, by cards. Stuff this all right here. I actually want to do UI card body. Yep, and stuff it all in there. This will now start nagging like, hey, I need to import UI card. Well, go ahead and make my day, and then the UI card header is going to have a title of section.title. If that's not set, section.type. This should make these ones a bit more stand out from each other. Yep, there you go. So now it's at least clear that we have various sections, and might be cool to have like an accordion here as well. And like your active session is the one that's open and the other ones are closed. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, let's check this one out. Let's go back one more time and check this main page. So I think this needs some more bootstrap. Let's see what's actually there in terms of makeup. So we have the kickstart root, and then we have course player main directly. And this might need a container. Or this might need a container. And it's probably container fluid that I want to use. So inside main right here. I'm going to say, yeah, I think I know what the issue is. So here I'm going to say container fluid here. And also give me a new row. Inside the fluid container, and then the row is going to get rid of the one here, because I think that's also messing stuff up. And then let's see how this works. We probably have some spacing on the sides, but I don't really, not really bothered by that. I have to go over this with a UX person anyway, anytime soon. So yeah, if you know good UX folk, that like to work on Angular projects like these, please let them know that I'd be more than interested in talking to them. Also, I think overflow auto probably needs to set more height. Out with these things, just add some more height. You can see I'm not a good CSS person. I'm just found some stuff that works for me, and I'm happy with it. But there's a lot of things to be improved. So okay, this at least works to that extent, and then this is also overflowing. There you go. It looks amazing. Here we have downloads. Here we have the whole large thing with videos. Okay, cool. So we need some padding on the borders, on the bottoms. So like here's stuff that we can't really see. Here's also stuff that we can't really see unless we like scroll it down. So let's add some here. So I think it's probably the best thing to do in the row here. So padding bottom 3. And then once we're at this still has the outer scroll that I need to fix. But then here we have, okay, we have some padding right here. I'm still not sure why this doesn't work the way I want. Probably learn CSS doing it properly at some point, but hey, ain't nobody got time for that. Well, at least I don't give myself the time to do that. Well, that didn't fix it. Maybe this fixes it. If anyone in the audience knows it, please let me know. Leave a comment. I think, okay, so another thing I'm going to do is in these cards here in the player section, take one of these cards and actually do a margin here as well, margin bottom 3. Put the card in a div. And that should have these a bit standing out a bit more from each other. And there you go. And I'm actually going to make this responsive so that in the small size they have a 3, and in the medium size and higher they have a 5 distance margin. And let's see how this renders out. And this renders out pretty well. And with that, I think that's all I have for you today, my dear friends. I really, really appreciate people watching here live. It was a big pleasure having you around. I'm going to commit these changes, and I'll be back tomorrow with another day of Open Source Sunday, BEEMAN.DEV OSS Open Source Sunday, where I'm going to work on Angular Split and NX. Thanks for showing up. La Stravada, thanks again for joining. It's good to see you again. I really appreciate people following me. And if you want to see me do something, work with some technology or UI, if it's related to Angular or GraphQL, I'm definitely going to consider it. So we're going to have more interesting content soon. I'm going to inviting people, and I have a new concept in where I invite people and have them show their library to me. Let me actually put the mic here. So the idea is that I'm going to invite people that build a UI library, and they're going to instruct me how I can use their library. So start from for instance, somebody that built the Tailwind schematic could have me guide through how to use this stuff. And I think that's interesting content. And one of the first people I'm going to have on the stream is Chao Tran. And Chow is gonna, I think he's gonna show me his Nest.js project. And another person I'm gonna invite is Lars, and Lars and I are gonna look at how to structure an NX repo. So by feature, I have certain ways how to structure it, he has certain ways, and he's gonna teach me. So that's all upcoming. Tomorrow, open source Sunday, and we're gonna look at Angular split. And I wish you all a very nice day or a very nice night, depending on where you are. I'm gonna say goodbye. Thank you all, bye-bye.